Marathon preview was very well received. We have also made a note of the feedback that you have given us, and we will try to incorporate that in future editions. And one key question that kept coming back at us from different social media forums was that can you please do a preview for the half marathon route as well? So on public demand, we are doing the half marathon preview. So here goes. So to begin with, the half marathon in Mumbai this time around starts at 5 a.m. But like it always does in Mumbai, it starts from the opposite side, that is the Mahim Bandar. So we'll be running the map alongside, just like the full marathon. We're going to run the map here also so that you have an idea of what we are talking about. So yeah, so the half marathon starts near the Mahim Bandar. One word of caution, please reach the start point in time because there's a fair amount of walking you have to do to get into the holding area and to the start point. And another hack based on last year's experience, if you can do the warm-up near your hotel or somewhere a little away from the holding area, that is the best way to go. So probably you may want to, finish off. I know it's not the ideal thing to do, but around the holding area or around where your corral will be, you'll have very little space to do your warm-up. I hope Procam has addressed it, but we're not entirely sure whether that can actually be addressed. So if you can take care of your warm-up a little earlier than what you generally do, that would be the way to go vis-a-vis the TMM half. Anyway, with that out of the way, you get into your holding area, and then basically you start from the Mahim Bandar, and then you shortly get onto the sea link basically, right? So we're going to break this, just to give you an overview, we're going to break this down into three main segments, from the start point until about INS Tata, the U-turn point at INS Tata, and then from INS Tata to the exit at Haji Ali, right? And that is when you get off the coastal road onto Haji Ali, and then finally from Haji Ali until the finish line through Peddar. These are going to be the three key segments that we're going to talk about, right? Three of us in this panel last year ran the half marathon, so we're really going to talk a lot from our experience in terms of the do's and the don'ts. Okay, so having said that, having set the context, let's get started. So 5 a.m. you start off from the Mahim Bandar, go towards the Bandra-Worli sea link. You cross the toll on the Bandra-Worli sea link and get onto the sea link. So the initial part is going to be a little bit of an uphill, a gentle uphill if you will basically, right? And there's going to be a lot of crowd considering that this is a half marathon. Regardless of the corral you are in, there is going to be quite a bit of crowd around you. So be careful in this initial section, I would say, until the toll naka. Don't step on anybody else's feet, don't run into other runners. Try and, find your rhythm in these first, I would say, about 2 to 3 kilometers. Try to find your rhythm. Don't go out too fast. Try to find your rhythm. Yep, I'm repeating that again and again. And then once you get onto the ceiling, that turning point where we are showing basically, right, where you get onto the ceiling, until that there's a gentle uphill, and then from there onwards there's an appreciable downhill descent as well. Now, one mistake I did, and I saw a lot of other runners do last year, was that they kind of went out way too fast in this segment. So unlike the full, right, or in fact like the full, Nazar and Sabr is important here also. This first stretch on the Bandra-Worli sea link, from Mahim Bandar till about the end of Bandra-Worli sea link, there will be a lot of temptation to go out hard. It's early in the morning, you have an uphill, and then you have a steady downhill that takes you all the way to the other side of the sea link. But we would suggest hold yourself, run within yourself basically, hold yourself back a little, don't follow somebody else, follow your plan, whatever is the pacing plan that you have worked out, please do it, right? In the context of the half, based on experience, we believe that the Tata Mumbai Marathon is actually a negative splits race. If you ask us basically, that's how we would execute it. Of course, there can be other opinions, but this is what we think, that you should start off conservatively, so that a rule of thumb, I'm just kind of putting a rule of thumb here. You start off conservatively so that you have enough gas to really push after Peddar, right? So now coming back, let's still talk about this segment. So yeah, you started off, there's a gentle uphill, then there's a gentle downhill that takes you all the way up to INS Tata basically. So you take as you come off the Bandra-Worli sea link, you take a left and go towards INS Tata. Can we focus on that part of the course, please? Can you zoom in on that? Yeah, there. You can see that red segment basically. That red segment up to that U-turn point, that is your INS Tata. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to pick on the brains of the two half marathoners from last year, Aditi and Arvind. What are your inputs in regard to how a runner, regardless of his finish time, target, should pace themselves in this particular segment?
Okay, cool. So I think you pretty much covered, Karthik. This course, as you start, you can see you are actually going onto the ceiling flyover. There is a small change in the route from last year. Last year, you used to go straight and then take a uh, kind of a U-turn here and then come back onto the ceiling under the flyover. But that has been changed. Now you directly go onto the ceiling via this ramp. So this adds quite a bit of elevation right in the beginning, in the first kilometer itself, very first kilometer. So that would mean that the first kilometer you have to navigate the crowds. At the same time, you need to take the hill. So ensure that you're not overdoing this at all, right? Because you're not still in rhythm for the race. So your pace is still, I think, kind of your body. I mean, despite the warm up, you'll still be kind of, settling in. So ensure that you're kind of taking it much easier than what you think should be your race effort. But I think once you cross the first kilometer and as you go till the ceiling toll booth, which is the second kilometer, end of second kilometer, by this time you should be fully settled into your race pace and into your rhythm. Then you should probably continue to your race pace. So from second kilometer all the way till um, third, fourth, fifth, and as you go down further, sixth, this is when probably you can even go beyond your race pace. But again, this is still the first half of the race, so ensure that you're not overdoing the paces. But as Karthik was also mentioning, we believe, or at least I believe, this is a negative split score. So I would kind of be under the race pace for the large part of this section. Wherever there are downhills, probably you can surge a bit, but not too much in the sense that maybe 2-3 seconds here and there. But beyond that, I wouldn't venture too much. Another challenge that I've seen when I paced last time was the ceiling section was not that bright enough. As in, there are sections of the roads where there are dark patches, so you got to be careful. I mean, the road is flat and all that, but there could be small uneven patches here and there which could cause issues. So ensure that you kind of keep your focus on. I mean, you can't switch off because you think it is a wide road and there is a few space to run, but ensure that you're kind of focusing on the terrain as well as you run. I think that's what I think one should do in this stretch. Aditi, over to you.
So, Karthik and Arvind, you have covered most of it. As Karthik mentioned that there will be space constraints, so please go ahead in advance. It is okay not to sleep a little more on the race day because then your butterflies will be there. So go there early. Keep the baggage in the baggage counter. Warm up well. Warm a little more longer. If you've reached early, it is an advantage that you can do your strides, you can do few drills, and then go at an easy pace to the corals. Right now, all the corals will be different. So coral A direction will be different than coral B, C, D. So also be ensure that if you are in coral B, don't wait till your friend who's in C or A wants to go. Right. So take your time. It is a race day and you are going to run by yourself. Again, as Arvind said, that there is a gentle elevation that because this time there is a little change of say 500 to 700 meters. So you will directly get on the elevation. The first 5 kilometers will be a gentle elevation, which is again, you won't realize it. At the same time, if you have a particular target, try to go below the target because you are on your fresh legs. There is quite a palpable excitement amongst everyone. So even if you say that I was feeling fine and your legs were bouncy, go slow, right? As both my friends said that it will you still have a long way to go, and maybe just for simplification, you can do a 7-7-7, right? 21 kilometers. So break it down into 7 kilometers, first seven, middle seven, and the last seven, or maybe say 8-8 and the rest. Because once you're out of Babulnath, which we will speak, then you have easy run there. Also, couple of things, as Arvind mentioned, that it will be a darker patch and people will start taking water and hydration early on. So even on the fourth and the fifth kilometer, you will feel on the ceiling that a lot of spillage will be there. So mind your steps, right? Mind your running, and be focused, because there will be few people who would like to socialize and early on, so ask your paces and everything. Not necessarily. If you don't feel like socializing, be yourself and run your race, right? So keep those things in mind.
Perfect. Karthik, you want to summarize this section? I mean, at some point you also run
I
the
think
half
you guys
marathon.
are the I think you guys are the experts and you already spoke. I'll just say be careful, like Aditi said, and Aditi and Arpit said, like a ceiling would have a lot of dark patches and there will be a lot of spillages. Second, like when you take the left from the ceiling towards the INS Tata, be careful when you take that left because roads might be a bit uneven. It's good, but it might be a bit uneven. So just be careful when you take that left. Otherwise, large and large, it will be a crowded race to begin with. But once you're on the ceiling, or once like a couple of meters before the ceiling, you should get your own rhythm. And like you all said, I think I agree that you can push well even in the second half of the race in Mumbai, considering all the changes this year.
Perfect. Yeah. So to finally, just three bulleted points. Find your rhythm until the Naka, the toll Naka of Bandra-Worli ceiling. Undulating stretch, slightly up and then a good amount of down, all the way until INS Tata. So run within yourself, surge if you must, slightly, but remember there's still a lot of running to do. Okay, so that is the first stretch. Now, now let's move on to the second stretch. Once you take that U-turn from INS Tata, right, you're going to basically, this is where, so what is the U-turn on INS Tata? It's about the 8
Six and a half.
kilometers? 6.5
Six and a half.
kilometers.
So this is
6.5
sixth here. We are coming down. This is six, and you're going beyond six.
So okay, so basically, by now your body would have really, settled down, found its rhythm, and now is the time where you can actually start off running around your target half marathon pace, right? So this stretch from about INS Strata until about, let us say, so you keep going, you take that U-turn, you go, and then you kind of negotiate a U-turn somewhere near the Worli Dairy, the Worli Dairy, and then you come back on towards the you enter the coastal road basically. So now this is a change from last year, right? Last year we used to, Karthik, you probably want to walk us through this particular change like you did for the marathon.
Okay, so I think so what used to happen last year was that from after taking the U-turn, you should take a left towards the Andy Basin Road, which was a very a narrow patch. So it's super good that they actually got rid of it. So what you're going to do this year is that there is exactly a U-turn at exactly opposite to Worli Dairy. You take that U-turn and you go back towards INS Tata, but then you take a ramp to get onto the coastal road, which is the newest segment introduced in this edition. This is a very slight ramp. I mean, nothing to worry about. Just you can do it at your race pace. Shouldn't be a worry. From here, when you take that U-turn, it's not really a U-turn. Like it's a good turn, and from here you will get onto the coastal road. So from here, the road is going to be vast.
Right. Thank you. So this is probably apart from what Arvind had said in the first at the beginning of the race, this is the second major change in terms of the half marathon course, and probably the last change. After this, it probably remains more or less the same, right? Of course, you'll exit off this ramp. We'll talk about that shortly. So the red section. So just to kind of distinguish between the two, the green is the full marathon. So don't follow that. The red section, whatever has been highlighted in red, is the half marathon route, right? So like Karthik said, you take that turn onto the ramp, you get onto the coastal road basically, and then you keep running on the coastal road, right? So from here, you will continue running on the coastal road, right? And you will do this until you take that exit ramp closer to Haji Ali basically. So this entire stretch, Arvind, what would it be in terms of distance from, let us say, the Worli Dairy until the exit near NSCI Dome?
Yeah, you're starting basically around 10th kilometer into the coastal road. You can see the numbers here, 10.
Yeah.
And then it is going all the way up to, this is the 12th kilometer where you're taking this is kind of a ramp come bridge
Yeah.
onto out of the coastal road exit. So you're exiting here. So this is the 13th kilometer. You're basically coming back to the Dome Stadium by 13th kilometer.
So roughly about 3 kilometers, 2.5 to 3 kilometers on the
3
coastal
kilometers.
road, 3
Yeah,
kilometers on
three
the
and
coastal road.
3.5 kilometers.
3.5
3
kilometers on the
kilometers.
coastal
Yeah.
road. Yeah, roughly about 3 kilometers on the coastal road. Again, largely, except for the incoming ramp, I think largely this section is by and large flat. Of course, it can be a little undulating basically, but nothing which should really worry you, right? So again, our suggestion here would be to probably run around goal half marathon pace basically. And how do the winds look in this particular stretch?
So this would be mostly a tailwind because you're coming
Tailwind.
to south. Yeah, it's a northerly wind, so it will be a tailwind. This ramp actually is a little steep. This particular ramp is about 10-meter ramp.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was coming to that
You go up,
actually.
yeah,
Okay.
you go up to the bridge, and then but you will get again a steep downhill as well. So this is another, I think, easily 10-15-meter ramp down. So this is a small section we need to be careful. But I think this is, in my view, is the time to kind of recover and then cover up a bit because there is a downhill as well.
Exactly. So, net basically, yes, you will lose some time on that steep upward section of the ramp, or rather the bridge basically, right? And as you come off the coastal road on the downward ramp, you can actually make up for it. We would suggest that you do make up for it in this section basically, right? But again, don't overdo it. Surge, put in a controlled surge that takes you back onto the NSCI dome, and then subsequently onto somewhere close to Mahalakshmi basically. Yeah. Aditi, you have any thoughts on this section? Anything you
Yes,
would like
I
to
do.
add?
So just one thing, when you are on the coastal road, maybe you should just go by effort when you are going the uphill and 10 meters. And just for those who have ran last year, to give you context, and those who are debuting, the last time also the 9th kilometer and the 13th kilometer was a slight uphill. So those, instead of having a uphill directly from say the previous year's Atria Mall to Haji Ali, this is going to be just one uphill and then a downhill. So don't worry that a lot of seconds of yours will go away. And as Arvind mentioned, that there is a tailwind, it will help you, and you're still like you're not you're just halfway through your on the coastal road. You will be just halfway through, right? So don't bother about it, and go by effort, because the actual race will now start once the third segment comes in.
Right, thank you. And I think one other good thing, I think Karthik already mentioned it. There were a couple of U-turns in this section, so I think they've at least done away with one U-turn basically, right? And the other good thing is, I think for the most part, right, this segment is pretty well lit actually. So you don't really coastal road is a new road, relatively new road basically. So you would not really encounter any significant patches on the road, and it should be well lit all the way until that U-turn point basically. So I think those are things you don't need to worry about. So the summary for this section, well, we're still not done with this section. Once you come down basically, then you again take a U-turn, and it's and then it's the regular route basically, right, which takes you all the way back to Peddar basically, right? I mean something that takes you that's part of the OG route. So after that U-turn, you just keep running, you cross Mahalakshmi, and then via Haji Ali you get onto the Peddar section, right? Now here comes the interesting part. I think those of you who watched the full marathon preview, I think we said Peddar can be, I mean, after all the running you've done on that route, Peddar can really be a deal breaker. Here, Peddar, compared to a half marathon, here you are on, slightly fresher legs. So we would say Peddar doesn't look as intimidating as it does for the full marathoners. But having said that, since it is still early in the morning, right, regardless of which corral you start with, support might not be to the extent that the full marathoners would get.
Yeah.
So net, long story short, Peddar will come after this, right? You've done a up, you've done a down. We would say the first part of Peddar, like until that signal next to Antilia, hold yourself back, right? because we would like to take you back to the initial statement I made that this is a negative space race in our opinion. If you can hold yourself until that signal at Antilia, and if you've paced yourself well until there, the next 5 kilometers, 5.5 probably, 5.8, whatever it is, you can really push. All the patience, all the nazar and sabr you showed in the initial sections will really bear fruit from that signal near Antilia. So our suggestion here would be run within yourself, even if you lose a few 10 seconds over here, right? Don't freak out. Don't fret by the fact that, oh my God, this is a uphill, I'm losing things, I'm losing sight of my target. You can comfortably, if you've paced yourself well, you can really make up for lost time in the next 5.5 kilometers. I'm speaking out of personal experience. I went out very hard on C-Link and then paid the price from Peddar until the end, basically, right? You don't want to be there. Even if you lose a few tens of a seconds, very strong runners also we have seen. I spoke to a couple of runners who ended up doing a sub 90 last year in Mumbai, and the weather was not really the best of Mumbai weathers, right? But even they actually struggled on Peddar, right? So Peddar, regardless of whether you're running a half or a full, is always a challenge. So don't fret if you lose a few seconds over there, right? And the other thing, I think the other thing, let's hear it from our panel. Arvind, you want to add anything based on your experience last year? How were you feeling when you crossed Peddar?
So, I think you kind of mentioned it. For half marathoners, Peddar is not as big as a challenge like full marathoners, given relatively you're not that fatigued. So, but that said, since you're almost close to the race pace by the time you come here, and suddenly this feels like a break, right? So it kind of unsettles you a bit. But I think this is where I think you got to ensure that the small drop in pace should not affect you. In fact, take that as a challenge in terms of how close you can be to your target pace. But again, that's not a must-have kind. You can ensure that you're not losing too much, right? Given you're already at the race pace and you don't want to lose too much. But take that as a challenge, given you're not kind of fully fatigued. You're around, I think, as you enter the Peddar Road, you're around 14th kilometer, right? So you're actually 14th kilometer is done. You're actually in the 15th kilometer. So use the your energy well and try to ensure that you're not losing too much time as you go up the Peddar. And as Karthik earlier mentioned, the Peddar peaks at the Antilia. This is, I think, the Antilia building, the helipad that I see here.
Yes.
All right. So that is the peak of the Peddar, and then it comes down till this Kemp's Corner flyover, right? And then there is a small hill onto the Kemp's Corner flyover. So this should be like relatively easy. So as soon as you actually cross the Antilia, you could actually pick up the pace. And I think so till Antilia, I would say it is the efficiency, your running form that you should kind of focus on. After Antilia, it is about power, speed, and performance, right? So there's no more question of what will happen. Is my form good? Nothing of that sort. So get your best paces, and this is a short race, right? Half marathon is relatively short, so compared to full marathon, of course. So put your start putting your effort and ensuring that you're getting the best power from your glutes and ensuring that you are doing all your best. Don't worry about efficiency, conservation, endurance, all that.
So just one more thing to add. If till the 14th kilometer, if you have raced diligently and as like executed with precision, right? So you would have taken your second gel by the 14th kilometer, right? And also your hydration is on point. You are not fluttered by what's going on around you, and how to pace yourself. Then Peddar is not a problem. Go by effort. You've done your hill sprints, you've done your strides, you've done your tempos, so you know where you are. So on the race day, no miracles take place, so don't even try. And don't look at your watch. For sure, don't look at your watch. There will be a time to look at your watch, will be after the race. And here, go with effort. You've had your gel, you've hydrated. Take the energy. There will be few folks who will be there, who will be cheering you at the Peddar Road and before that from Haji Ali. So take that energy, take the energy of the surrounding and move ahead. As Arvind mentioned, that after the Antilia signal, it's all downhill and it is all then brute force. Right now is the time to race. Now is the time to catch up on all those 10-12 seconds that went while climbing Antilia or while climbing coastal route, and that will happen immediately because it's a steep downhill to Babulnath, and after that it is a flat course, right? So
Yes.
so ensure that you are working, this is a mind game, right? It is a short race. It will be a mindful game. Be mindful about the race, and now go with your brute force, as Arvind mentioned. All the efficiencies will come to play, right? So yeah, Karthik, you can start with this.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
add one thing. So with all the route change this year, right? The start of the Peddar or probably Haji Ali is the point you will see the marathon runners coming from the opposite lane.
Yes.
So you will take that vibe, soak in, like you are gonna finish your race, but there are runners running in the opposite lane who are just about to start their race. So imagine that, like you are about to finish your race. So just keep that on your head, and that's probably one way to conquer Pedar. And if you're running half, I have like run that hill like every weekend, almost every weekend. And if you're running half, that's not a big challenge like everyone have already highlighted. So conquer it.
I think there's some excellent points over there, right? So to summarize, after you take that U-turn at Strata, right, the next section until Antilia, we would say, right, is undulating, right? There are going to be stretches where you are going to be doing some sort of uphill running, but then they're also followed by stretches where you would be doing some amount of downhill surges, right? So this is a section where you run around your marathon pace, right? Don't overdo yourself, and bide your time, right? Once you cross that Antilia signal, that is where, like Arvind, Aditi said, open your strides, and get ready for the grand finale. That is the last 5 kilometers. That brings us to the final stretch, the stretch after Babulnath. So once you basically get off Peddar, get off Babulnath, that's like a nice downhill that takes you all the way back to Girgaon Chowpatty, right? Now essentially the full and half marathon routes have converged. In fact, they converged from Haji Ali, if you did notice that, right? So from here, it is essentially a flat section all the way back until the finish line. Borrowing from what Karthik said, imagine the full marathoners are going to run this. This is going to be the 36th, 37th kilometer for them, and from there they're going to run till the finish. Compared to that, you guys are still at the 16th kilometer. You just have another 5 kilometers to go, and you're still running earlier in the morning compared to when they would be finishing. So this is really the time you should be pushing. There will be a decent amount of support on the Marine Drive in patches, of course, right? Most of the patchwork in terms of the road has all been done. The road is in a good shape right now. Lighting also would be pretty good considering that this is going to be early in the morning. So this is the time when all systems are a go. You really push here basically, right? It's a flat section, and this section, like we said, has some amount of support, has plenty of landmarks. So you may want to break this section down into smaller segments, and this is applicable both to the half and the full guys. We didn't tell this the other day. So ideally, the way I do it is, look for landmarks on your left hand side. Keep looking for landmarks, right? You'll first cross the college district. You'll see a couple of colleges. Then you'll see the Gymkhana, and if you're lucky enough, you'll see a local train going on the marine lines, right? So that will be your second segment. And then there is a bridge. There is a bridge that's shown in almost all the Bollywood movies. Marine Drive is signified by that, age-old
That's a
bridge,
Princess
basically.
Street Bridge. Princess Street Bridge.
Ha,
Or the
exactly.
flyover.
So that bridge. So once you cross that bridge, right, you can say you have this race in the bag, basically, right? Where that bridge is somewhere before. Of course, it's before Wankhede, basically. That bridge is what we're talking about, right? So when you run, the bridge will be right in front of you. Once you cross this, you roughly have about 2-ish kilometers, 2.5 kilometers to the finish line, basically, right? So these should be your landmarks. Then comes Wankhede, and after Wankhede, you will be able to see the tower, the revolving Parikrama restaurant, basically. When you see that, you know you're home, basically. The 20th kilometer for you is going to be somewhere on the cusp of Pizza by the Bay and Marine Drive, right? You take that left, you take that final left, basically, and then you run all the way on to OCS Chowk, right? So this is the section where you should not hold anything back. You may progressively want to start pushing yourself, but progressively also means within the realm of a good, solid effort basically. So if you to rephrase what we have all been saying, we still believe, given the conditions and even with the change in the route, Bombay in terms of half is a negative splits race. If you've paced yourself well until that signal at Antilia, the last 5.5, 5.7, 5.8 kilometers, you should really be able to push, make up for lost time, and get to your target as you cross that finish line. Concluding thoughts, Arvind?
Yeah, small trivia. You talked about the bridge, which is the Princess. What is it called, Karthik? The special
A
bridge.
Princess Street, yeah, a Princess Street bridge.
Okay, right. So this is the second oldest flyover in India. The first one being what we already
Kim's
went over,
Corner, yeah.
which is the Kemp's Corner. So this is built in 1964, and then the second one apparently is this one, and third one is in Chennai, Anna flyover. So you are basically seeing a piece of India's infrastructure history as you are, finishing the half marathon as well as full marathon, of course. And this stretch, as Karthik mentioned, there is nothing much to talk about. You are actually giving all your, energies. You're fully putting out your effort. So take kilometer by kilometer, count down. If you don't find any landmark, if you don't know much about Mumbai, just look at the person in front of you. They are your landmark to beat, and then you should kind of, put your best to finish the race.
Yeah, I think I just make a brief interjection here. That's a good point Arvind makes. If you've paced yourself well, and if there were people, over-enthusiastic people like me who went out hard, this is the place where you'll start crossing them basically. This is the place where you'll start reeling them in, and that gives you a different level of confidence altogether, right? So it will only encourage you to push yourself harder as the kilometers come, as the finish line comes closer. Yeah, Aditi, parting thoughts.
So if you paced well in your first two-third of the race, the last one-third is yours, right? So you have to, then it's all negative splits. Once you're out of Babulnath, there is going to be this Nasik dhols, right? It is like a morning party. Those Nasik dhols are going to chop off at least 3-4 seconds of that kilometer of yours for sure. And after that, all the run clubs start, right? All the major run clubs will be waiting for you and shouting your name. And yes, and once the Princess Bridge, you cross the Princess Bridge, after that there's no looking back. Then it is full throttle. You cross and you run and you see Pizza by the Bay, and that's when you say just 800 meters to go and 700 meters to go, and then you meet your friends at the finish line. Trust me, there are your people, your gang waiting for you, right? Because that was my favorite stretch last year.
Okay, lovely. Yep. Karthik?
Yeah, so this last 4 kilometers is a segment where I'll transform myself from Eliud Kipchoge to Usain Bolt. Like I will say, I want to do every kilometer faster, probably 2 seconds, 5 seconds, like whatever your training and goal. But I will, if I was running half, I'll definitely do every kilometer here faster and faster and faster. And once I take that left turn from Pisa, by the way, it's going to be a sprinting finish for me. And like Aditi said, you will have a lot of runners from Mumbai who are probably not running the race. Like they would be here cheering for you. So soak that in, but do a sprinting finish, especially in the last 500 meters. All yours.
Right. So I think with all this talk about sprinting, right? There's a nice analogy. I don't know how many of you are aviation geeks out here, but when an aircraft lands, right? I mean, if you've ever seen a video of an aircraft landing, the pilot kind of puts it in an autopilot mode, and there are these prompts which say 600 meters, 400 meters, 200 meters, 0. And as they come down, right,
exactly,
it's like full throttle, maximum speed when he touches the ground, basically. And so that's how you should be looking at it. I think that's a very good analogy. When you take that final left, it's about 800 to 900 meters. You'll see markers also saying 800 to go, 600 to go, 400 to go, right? So I think I liked what Karthik said. In this section, the way to attack it would be to progressively get faster. It doesn't have to be 30 seconds faster. It can even be something as good as 4 to 5 seconds faster. But it gives you the confidence that when you finish a race strong, on your feet feeling strong, that I've really finished the race. When you cross the finish line feeling strong, it gives you a different level of confidence altogether. So in summary, that should be the objective, that you pace yourself. This is a short distance. This is not a marathon, right, where you have to go through a lot of things, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Here, basically, it's a short race with its own unique set of challenges, but then you should feel that you finish this race strong. So I think on that note, we would really like to conclude this short review, if you will. Please do leave your feedback and comments and tell us what you feel. As we kind of wrap this chapter up, I just want to put one final question to my panel, right? The final verdict, and this I'm not going to restrict myself. Half marathon, anyway, we've said it's a negative splits race. I'm going to pick on their brains with respect to the full marathon. What do you guys feel? Full marathon, what should be because this is again a specific feedback that came. So we're going to treat it at a very high level. Is Mumbai a positive splits race, or is Mumbai a negative splits race? With all these changes, with everything put together, right? What do you guys think? And I think I'm going to first give that question to Karthik Nadar, because among the four of us, he's the guy who is actually going to run the full marathon come Sunday. So Karthik, what is your strategy going to be? Is it going to be a positive split for you or a negative split for you?
Like I said, if I was running half, I would definitely do negative. But since I'm doing full, I am looking at doing a negative splits this year, since all my 4 other races have done this year in this particular season. Over the last 2-3 months, I've done all the negative splits, but those were short distances as compared to marathon. I'll probably, if like I'm honestly running the marathon, so I'm going to hold on for a long time this year, learning from all the erstwhile years. So while I want to do negative splits, I strongly believe if you're running a full Mumbai, it's not a negative split race with the Peddar and the new coastal road, a ramp which is coming at 33 kilometers something. Mumbai would not be a course to do a negative splits if you're running full. No way.
Okay, right, understood. Good. Okay, Arvind, over to you basically. What do you think?
So, personally, I believe the negative splits in full marathon is also possible. It's not because the course is more or less it's out and back course. I mean, while you might say that there is a large parts where you don't repeat, but there is equally large parts where you repeat. So in that sense, the difficulty level from a course perspective more or less evens out. So that way, there is a possibility that you could do a negative split if you play smart, especially for experienced runners. And that is the data that we have seen. And the changes in the course slightly alter that, but not to an extent I think it would have any significant change in terms of, the people who can do negative splits can continue to think about negative splits if they are trained well and if that is their strategy. There is nothing in the course that makes it extremely difficult as such. Because, while the coastal road is added, it might add some challenge, especially as you exit the coastal road, there is a small ramp. That is an additional elevation change. But that said, there is a tailwind, and then maybe the gentle sea breeze might help as well. So all in all, I would say the half marathon, in my view, mostly, it's very conducive for negative splits. Full marathon also, it is possible if you train well and if you can actually strategize yourself well, you can do a negative split.
Perfect. Okay. Aditi, your verdict.
So I have only ran half marathon on this course, so it is a clear negative split course. For marathoners, I mean, I don't have my opinion here. Having said that, we are too late here right now to influence anybody. So stick to your plan, friends, whoever is listening. This is again informational, and your hydration, your gels will play a role in this. So do not don't say that I got caught up in the race and I forgot to take my gels on time. Even if you feel that you don't need a gel, you will regret if you miss out that gel at that point in time, right? So stick to your plan, whether you like it or not. All these sticking to the plan will help you in the last 10 kilometers for the marathon and the last, say, 3 to 4 kilometers in the half marathon, right? Don't underestimate the distance, whichever one you are running. That's all.
Fantastic. So I think the conclusion here is plan your race your plan. Don't get carried away by the people around you. And the full marathon, if you have not tried negative splits, we believe that, like Arvind said, it is probably doable. But maybe the objective in Mumbai for the full marathoners should be that yes, you will slow down in the second half, right? If you're not a person who loves negative splits, you will slow down. The question is the rate at which you slow down. How much can you arrest? How can you do all the things around, right? So that you can arrest that slowing down, especially in the last 6 to 7 kilometers of the race, basically. So with those words, we wish all the participants, the full marathon, the half marathon, the very best. Yeah, Arvind, you want to say something? You want to add?
Yeah, just the pacing bit, I want to talk about it. So in the past, what we have seen in terms of data, we have put a lot of articles and TMM data. So the positive splits and negative splits is something that we have analyzed as well. So in general, what we have seen is that largely the full marathon is a positive split finish, right? I would say at least 90% of the people do the positive splits. The only 10% would attempt negative split. But again, if you look at it from a finish time perspective, people who finished under 3 hours versus say under 4 hours, there is a significant difference, right? People who finished under 2 hours, you would see more than under 3 hours would have done more than 25% of them, negative split. Under 4 hours, I would say about 15 to 20%. But those who are finishing later, like say after 4 hours, you would see very little negative split percentage, less than 2% or 3%.
That's a very, very interesting insight, actually. And it also probably ties back to the fact that experience and the level of training comes into the picture over here. So again, I think the larger message from here is if you're a negative splits person, well, you know what to do. But if you're not somebody who's new to this whole concept of splits and positive and negative splits, let's make it simple for you. Try and do everything so that the rate at which you slow down, it's a battle of attrition, right? It's going to be ultimately, I mean, the other day I read a comment by a Twitter user who said he slowed down in the last 5 kilometers, and that's where that made a difference between his 3:15 versus 3:15, which was his BQ standard, versus 3:18 finish, right? So it's in that sense, it's a battle of attrition, right? If you can kind of slow down, if you can arrest that slowdown in the last 5 to 7 kilometers, right? If you can do things that can kind of arrest that slowdown, I think you would have achieved your objective. Any final comments, anyone?
Good luck to all of you who are running, and we'll all be cheering for you from here.
Fantastic.
And
so all the very best.
A couple of us are running as well, so we'll be cheering those who are running as well.
Yeah, so we'll also be putting out a route preview, and there will be communication going forward until race day. And we love to meet. In fact, I'll be running the half. The two Kartiks are running. One Kartik is running the full. The other Kartik is running the half. So we will hopefully see you at the finish line. If you happen to recognize us, come across, we'll say hi to each other basically. And yeah, all the very best.
One final request. If you have seen this video, please do share it with your friends, because we're putting a lot of effort to put this video. Hope it will reach more people, so help us in ensuring the video reaches more people, as many people as possible.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That we have had race reports and race reviews on TMM. Like, there are ample. Just go on our website geeksonfeet.com and you will see ample of wealth of knowledge there with respect to TMM and tools and racing strategies and everything.
Thank you so much, guys. Then I think this is a great point to say all the very best.
Bye.
All the best.
Watch out for Instagram channel as well. Karthik is going to put a lot of reels.